Welcome! Today we're making a delicious pineapple ham pizza from scratch. I'll walk you through everything from making the dough to adding those sweet pineapple chunks and savory ham, with some great tips along the way. Let's gather our ingredients and get started on this homemade pizza adventure. Alright, let's get started on our delicious pineapple ham pizza. First, we'll need 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 packet of active dry yeast. Grab 3/4 cup of warm water and 1 teaspoon of sugar to activate that yeast. Don't forget 1 teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of olive oil for the dough. For our toppings, we'll be using 1 cup of pizza sauce, 1 1/2 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese, and 1 1/2 cups of diced ham. You can also choose cooked beef, pork, or turkey if you prefer. Add in a cup of pineapple chunks, fresh or canned works great, and if you like, a 1/2 cup of sliced red onion. Finally, we'll season it with 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And if you enjoy a little heat, have some crushed red pepper flakes on hand. Ready? Let's cook. We're starting with the dough, which is the foundation of our pizza. First, let's activate the yeast. In a small bowl, combine 3/4 cup of warm water. Make sure it's about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's warm but not too hot, along with 1 teaspoon of sugar. Sprinkle in 1 packet, which is about 2 1/4 teaspoons, of active dry yeast. Give it a gentle stir and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. You'll notice it getting frothy. That's a good sign. While the yeast is activating, let's prepare our dry ingredients. In a large mixing bowl, add 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. Whisk those together to combine. After your yeast is nice and frothy, make a well in the center of your flour mixture. Pour in that yeast mixture along with 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Now, let's mix. You can use a wooden spoon or your hands to bring the dough together. Once it starts to form a ball, transfer it to a floured surface. Here comes the fun part, kneading. Knead the dough for about 5 to 7 minutes.
You want it to be smooth and elastic.
If it's sticky, add a little more flour as needed. If it feels too dry, a splash of water will help. Once it's just right, shape it into a ball and place it in a lightly oiled bowl. Cover it with a damp cloth and let it rise in a warm spot for about an hour, or until it doubles in size. Great job on the dough! Now, let's prepare our pizza. First, we need to preheat the oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have a pizza stone, place it in the oven to heat up. It really helps to get a crispy crust. While that's happening, it's time to roll out our dough. After it has risen, gently punch it down to release the air. Transfer it to a floured surface again. Using a rolling pin, roll out the dough to your desired thickness. About 1/4 inch is ideal. Don't worry about making it a perfect circle. A rustic shape adds character. Once it's rolled out, carefully transfer the dough onto a piece of parchment paper. This will make it easier to move to the oven later. Now, let's add our pizza sauce. Spread 1 cup of pizza sauce evenly over the dough, leaving about a 1/2 inch border around the edges for that lovely crust. Next, sprinkle 1 1/2 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese over the sauce. Make sure to cover it well. This cheese is going to melt beautifully. After that, we'll add our star topping, 1 1/2 cups of diced ham. If you're using beef, pork, or turkey, make sure it's cooked and cut into bite-sized pieces. Then let's toss on a cup of pineapple chunks. Drain if using canned. If you want to add some extra flavor, feel free to include 1/2 cup of sliced red onion. It adds a nice sweetness. We're almost there. Now it's time to bake our pizza. Before we get started, let's season it up. Sprinkle 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder over the top. If you enjoy a little kick, add some crushed red pepper flakes to your liking. Now carefully transfer the pizza, along with the parchment paper, onto your preheated pizza stone or baking sheet. Make sure it's centered, and then close the oven door. Bake for about 12 to 15 minutes. You want to keep an eye on it. Look for that golden brown crust and bubbling cheese. As it bakes, the aroma will fill your kitchen, and you'll know it's almost time to eat. If your crust looks done but the cheese isn't bubbling yet, you can always switch to broil for a minute or 2, but watch closely to avoid burning. When it's finished baking, use oven mitts to carefully pull it out of the oven. Let it sit for a couple of minutes to cool slightly before slicing. After letting it cool for a few minutes, grab a sharp knife or a pizza cutter and slice it into your desired pieces. If you'd like to elevate the flavor even more, sprinkle some fresh basil leaves on top. They add a burst of freshness that complements the sweetness of the pineapple and the savory ham perfectly. Now it's time to dig in. Serve your pineapple ham pizza hot, and if you have any leftovers, make sure to store them in an airtight container in the refrigerator. You can reheat the slices in the oven for the best results. Lastly, here are a few tips to make your pineapple ham pizza perfect. First, dough texture. If your dough feels too sticky while kneading, sprinkle a little extra flour. If it's too dry, just add a splash of water until it's smooth and elastic. For topping variations, feel free to get creative. Add bell peppers, mushrooms, or olives for extra flavor. When it comes to cooking time, keep an eye on the pizza. Depending on your oven and the thickness of your dough, the baking time can vary, so watch for that golden crust and bubbling cheese. Finally, for leftovers, store them in an airtight container in the fridge for up to 3 days, and when reheating, use the oven for the crispiest results. Enjoy your homemade pineapple and ham pizza.